Another method for catching animals in a survival situation is using what is called a deadfall. A deadfall is pretty much sounds like is what it sounds. We have a heavy object like here, and this heavy object could be like this, several logs lashed together, or it could be a large tree log or even a rock. And pretty much all deadfalls have the same thing in common with they have a large object held up with a trigger. And the idea is that once the animal comes into the deadfall and starts to take the bait, which is on the trigger, then this will set off, and then this heavy object, will fall down onto the animal and thereby killing it. So we're going to set this deadfall off for you to see how it works, and then we're going to show you how it's made.
Okay, so now what I'd like to show you is how I've assembled this deadfall. And the technical name for this deadfall is a balanced log deadfall. What I've done is I've taken 5 relatively heavy logs and I've lashed them together to make one large heavy object for our deadfall. Almost a substitute as if it was a boulder or a rock. Okay, so what I've done is I've added some support beams perpendicular to my logs, and I've done a modified square lashing on all of them together. And so I have this perpendicular support beam, and I've wrapped around each beam and back around the support beam all the way to the end. I started with a clove hitch, and I'm going to finish it after I tighten it. I'll go around the loops, tighten down on them. You can really crank down hard on this lashing. And then I'm going to finish also with a clove hitch, the same I started with. Okay, so now that that's done, this is secure, I'm going to go over how you set this up. Okay, the other pieces that are important to remember are your balance beam, support beam here, and then your pedestal that it's going to rest on, like so, and then your trigger stick, which will have an arm that you've either lashed onto or used a natural branch off of it. And I'll show you how that all goes together here. So you're going to pick up your weight, and you can lean it against the pedestal. Once you've got it resting pretty well, you can hold it with just the one side. And this is where it gets kind of tricky, but you want to find a good hard place to rest the bottom of your trigger stick against. And I've sharpened both ends to kind of help with the trigger system. So I'm going to place this against a piece of bark that I've added here, down here, to keep the stick from digging into the dirt. And then I'm going to rest the other end up underneath my support log up here, like so. Okay, notice how I have the stem here with the bait that'll be on it. We'll use a leaf to demonstrate that. So say you have your bait here underneath the deadfall. Make sure that it has a clear pass to fall away from your pedestal piece. And then once all that is set up, it's done and ready to go and ready to move on to your next trap.
So let's review. You want to try to keep your traps looking as natural as possible, because animals will be able to see where the forest has been disrupted and they will avoid those areas. Also, you want to try to place your traps in areas that have obvious animal movement, whether it be on a game trail or an area where it's obvious that they have been bedding. Lastly, you want to try to set as many traps as possible, because the more you set, the greater chances you have of catching an animal.
And out here, attitude is everything. And setting traps and snares is a great way to pass time. And remember, if you practice to survive,
You're gonna stay alive.